Okay, so welcome back, and today we're going to go into part 2, which is clarity. And for those of you who have this book here, is it time for you to get out of the rat race? It's a little storybook, but it's also a catalog of some of our products in it and all this. But step 2, or clarity, is a very important part of the lesson plan. And so far you should have played the game. You should have gone through 4 lessons and played the game 4 different times. Step 4 is a very important part. That's where you're challenging other people. Now, if you're the big loser out there and you still haven't won your game, keep going at it. Because I said, in the real world, on the streets, it's winners and losers. And the reason it's so easy to be rich is most people aren't playing to win. Majority of the people are playing not to lose, which is just trample them and keep going, So anyway, all 4 should be finished in clarity. I'd like to explain why clarity is the next step. By this time, after playing the game 4 times, it's not the easiest game to learn. And each time you play it, you should be getting another aha, another distinction, another clarity, another idea in your head. Because embedded inside the cash flow game and the financial statement here are literally millions of little lessons that the mind can assemble for themselves and add to your financial IQ. So the reason clarity is important is suddenly you can see. As you know, we have a left brain and we have a right brain. And generally speaking, unless you're left-handed, the left brain is generally for reading, writing, arithmetic, logic. The right brain is more pictures and creativity. So the reason we created the game was to integrate both the right brain and the left brain. And there's a lot of people who are so left brain dominant. A lot of times they're accountants and attorneys. They're really interesting people. Or I went to school with this guy who was a certified genius. Robbie. But the guy was the most incompetent person. He didn't know a left-handed baseball glove from a right-handed baseball glove. And today he sits on a mountaintop looking at stars. So it's no doubt he's a genius, but he's a social introvert. He just has no social skills. So anyway, we have a left brain and a right brain, and a game incorporates both of them. So one of the reasons I say clarity is important is because years and years ago, I was playing this game here when I was just 9 years old with my rich dad. It's a game called what? Monopoly. Fabulous, fabulous game. One of the best games I've ever played. I love playing this game. And the reason it's so good is because I've been playing this game for hours and hours, and then I go home to my poor dad, the school teacher, and he'd say, "What you been doing all day?" "Well, I've been playing Monopoly." "Well, you're wasting your time. Put that stupid game away and do your homework so you can get a good, safe, secure job." Then I go back a few days later to see my rich dad, and he would say, "Okay, break out Monopoly." So being 9 years old, and both men were not rich or successful at the time, they were just young fathers. I didn't know which guy to listen to. But something started to happen when I got more clarity in my life, is as my rich dad used to explain, this is the cash flow quadrant. My rich dad explained that there's 4 people that make up the world of business. They're employees, self-employed, small business specialists, like consultants and all this, big business, and investors. So what happened by playing Monopoly is by having more clarity, being able to see. I could see that I did not want to grow up to be an employee or a specialist. Not because they're good or bad. It's just that it wasn't exciting to me. I just found it kind of boring. The thought of going, I looked at all the guys who are going to work every day and go, man, I don't want to do that. It didn't seem interesting. And S stands for smart, and as some of you know, I flunked out of school twice because I couldn't write. Now, I did graduate and do have my college degree and all that, but I'm not smart. I am not what they consider academically smart. I have high SATs, but I just don't do well in the classroom for some reason. So I do better outside doing other things like this. So the clarity part, when you look at this here, when I was about 9 or 10, somewhere along the line, I was clear on what I was going to do. I wasn't going to be on this side. I was going to be on this side here. Does that make sense to you guys here? Yes. And so one of the programs for the Rich Dad company is, it's not that one side is right or wrong. All we're saying today is that today you need at least 2 quadrants. If you're an employee and you're putting your money in a 401k, which is a suicide mission, more power to you. But after 1974, when the big corporations said we're no longer going to take care of employees, they formed the 401k, which is, in my opinion, one of the worst investments possible that you could, is the most inefficient. Now, if you have no financial education, great, have a 401k. But if you want higher returns with less risk, you need more financial education. And that's very simply our position here. So today a person can be an E and an I. And some people can be S's and be I's. And what I am is I build companies. The definition of a big business is 500 employees or more. So I have several companies with 500 employees or more, but I still invest. I don't just count on my business. And today I have income coming from here and income from here. The reason it's called the cash flow quadrant is very simply by saying, where does your cash flow come from? If you're getting your cash flow from a paycheck, you're an employee. If you're getting your cash flow from fees or by the hour or by the job, then you're probably an S. If you're getting your income from, growth of your stocks and stuff like this, then you might be a B. I've taken 3 companies public now. And then I is, where does your income come from there? Unfortunately, most people with a 401k, they have no income. All they have is outgo. And they have outgo for 40 years, hoping and praying there's something there at age 65. Does that make sense, you guys here? And my bet is it's not, today you'll find out why it's probably not going to be there. Or not enough is going to be there. There'll something be there, but it might not be enough for people. So that's really the clarity on the whole thing. So the Rich Dad Company is for people who want to move from this side to one of these quadrants here. Also, what we support is small business people growing into big business people. So this side is entrepreneurship, this side is investing, this is job security, and this is hard work here. S stands for suicidal, because I always laugh at my S's, that my accountants and my attorneys, because if they become successful, the only problem is they get more busy. Do you know what I mean? They have to work harder, and they have to work harder. And over here, if you work harder and make more money, the government taxes you more. And over here, I can work harder, by working less, make more money, and pay substantially less taxes. So that's why it's clarity. Step 2 is clarity, and it's part of my little book there. But it's for people who want to move from here to here, and that's the difference. If I could support, we have a coaching program. By this point, you should know what you want to do. We have a program called Rich Dad's Coaching. And for most of the people that sign up for the coaching program is they want to make some changes in their life, because these changes are fairly deep changes. So, an employee, again, the problem is you have to keep working harder and move higher in taxes. But the difference is, the reason we support coaching is the changes are very core changes, a lot of it emotional. An employee will always say the same words, whether the president or the janitor, I'm looking for job security. I want a safe, secure job with benefits. And an S will always say in the same words, if you want it done right, do it by yourself. That's why they don't make it to here. Because they get busier and busier, they get raised their race, keep raising their race, but all they do is work harder and pay more in taxes here. And these mindsets are completely different here. These are capitalist class people here. They have people working for them and they have money working for them. And their income comes from that. So they can stop working, the income still keeps coming in. These people cannot stop working, and there's a very big difference. So coaching supports that transition. Anyway, going further about clarity on how I could see better, was when you look at this here comes from this. So here I was 9 years old, looking at this thing, and then it didn't make much sense to me. I go, what is this, and pretty soon began to understand that it was, as you can tell, here, get the camera on this, there's 4 greenhouses and 1 red hotel, And about 9 or 10, I went, oh my goodness. And this wasn't just a game. And my rich dad actually showed me physically by walking around what were his 4 greenhouses, which my poor dad said, your rich dad is a slumlord. I said, well, he's actually a low-income provider, things like this. My rich dad and my poor dad did not get along. So I saw the formula. I said, this is it. So what you're seeing in my hand is one of the major formulas for great wealth. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. That's all you have to do to be rich. You don't need to go to Harvard, Wharton, all that stuff. That's all you really have to do. So as a kid, with my rich dad's teaching, I began to realize it looked like this. That's this here. Assets, liabilities, income, expense. And what I saw these green things doing, this went this way. And this is called cash flow. And once I got that distinction, I went, ah. So that means my assets work for me, so I don't have to work for my assets. And that was like crystal clear to me. So I had this major breakthrough while playing this game. I went, oh my God, I can be rich. You know, when I was born poor. You know, not that we're financially poor, we're mentally poor. We'll never be rich. I'm a school teacher. You think money grows on trees. The rich are crooks. You know, they're bastards and all the other things like this. But suddenly I saw this and said, hey, it's nothing to do with the rich or poor. It's that I have to make that determination in my life. Do I want to be rich or poor? So Monopoly showed me that one step, if I could work that step. So that's why clarity was knowing that I wasn't going to follow in my poor dad's footsteps, which was to be an employee, or my mom's wishes for me to be a doctor. I knew at that point that I was going to be an entrepreneur and an investor. That's what I knew. So at the age of 9 and 10, I saw it. But that caused some problems because I realized then the current educational system wasn't going to get me there. The current education system was getting me here, but not here. So the Rich Dad Company supports people going over here. Does that make sense, you guys here? So would you take 1 minute, discuss that, and then we'll get back to the lesson, okay? Ready, go. Going back again to this, we'll get now into lesson number 5. And I said, by playing the game 4 times, I think you're starting to understand the game. You picked up a couple of new lessons and all this. So in lesson number 5 is why, savers are losers. Because there's two forms of thought. The poor people, actually 3, poor believe the government should take care of you. Like my dad wanted me to stay in the Marine Corps and fly and let the government take care of me. So I don't want to do that. Or they're going to let Social Security or welfare take care of them. That's really a kind of financially a poor person's thought. The middle class believes in good grades, good job, big income, get out of debt, save money, and 401k or with mutual funds or index funds. That's very middle class. And it's okay if that's what you want. But I wanted to be rich, and the reason this company is called the Rich Dad Company, not Middle Class Dad Company. There's a reason for the positioning and the whole thing. So I can just show you more clarity because using your right brain, a person can see more pictures based upon the left brain numbers and things that financial IQ requires. So it's really simple to see. My poor dad was over here. He wanted me to have a job. And my rich dad was talking to me about this, acquiring assets. These are capitalists. These are working class people. Capitalists, working class. So as I said last time, there's 3 classes of people: working class, intellectual class, and capitalist class. And the intellectual class, like my dad, they work with their minds, but they still have to work. It's called the knowledge workers today. They're specialists, doctors, lawyers, computer programmers. They still have to work. Capitalist class have people and money work for them. And it's a very different mindset, which is why sometimes making those changes are a little difficult here. So going back to this issue, why savers are losers. And most people I talk to, you mean, I do interviews and they go, oh, you mean save money, don't you? I go, that's not quite what I mean, Oh, that's a smart thing to do. And I go, well, maybe for you, but I don't do that. Okay, so savers to me are losers, and I'll explain why. And the main reason why was in 1971, this is history, a president named Richard Nixon. He had some faults, but anyway, like lying. But he's not the only politician, but anyway. In 1971, he took us off the gold standard, and the US dollar, this is the big change, went from, instead of being money, the US dollar shifted to a currency. And what a currency is basically the government can print it as it needs it. It'd be like giving an alcoholic the key to the wine locker, or giving a spender, a blank credit card or blank checks. And that's what's happening today. So the U.S. Treasury just announced that from 2000 to 2005, President Bush has printed an extra $1 trillion. That is more debt than all presidents in history combined, from Washington to Clinton. Bush has run up more debt. So the value of the dollar is plummeting. So when you say I'm saving money, you're not really saving money, you're saving a currency. And unfortunately, throughout history, no currencies have ever survived. They all disappear eventually. And the reason they disappear is because they can't help but keep writing those checks. Does that make sense, you guys here? Or it's like giving a credit card to a shopaholic. They just can't help themselves anymore. And basically, that's what we've done. So the value of the dollar is going down. And the way you measure that is you don't measure it against other currencies. People who do foreign exchange trading, they're measuring the dollar versus yen, the dollar versus a euro, the Swiss franc and things like that. And you don't get a good picture of it. I think what a person needs to do is measure it, against what I call tangible assets, not currencies. So you look at 1996, this is a good indication to 2006, over a 10-year span. What's happened is the price of oil started at $10 a barrel here, and by 2006, it was $60 a barrel. So that's why savers are losing. What it means, it takes 6 times more dollars to buy the same amount of oil. And that's 600%. And the bank is paying you, what, 5%? 600 versus 5%. I mean, you're not getting anywhere. You're falling behind really badly. And then if you look at the price of gold, one of my favorite commodities, gold has gone from about $275 an ounce, and today a gold will purchase let's call it $600 an ounce. Yeah, it's $680 this morning or something like that. But you see what's happening. It's not that the dollar is, the purchasing power of the dollar is going down. So that's why the financial planners will tell you save money, some in cash, some in mutual funds and all this, and you're taking a hammering. In other words, if you're not getting at least a 20% return, you're falling behind. And that's tragic. I'll show you another, again, if clarity is the issue here, I think this is the most telling for many people. I really find, I have millions of shares of stock. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against the stock market, but I took the companies public. I'm the IPO guy. I'm the guy behind the scenes. I'm the guy on the fast track selling to those on the rat race. These guys buy stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. These guys create the products that sell to these people here, okay? You can manufacture money that fast. Just make it up. I do it all the time. Okay, so you look at this. As we talked right now, there was a huge hit in the Dow. Remember, this was the dot-com era? And then, boom, it went down. And then today they're saying, oh, the Dow is reaching all-time highs. And everybody goes, oh, and all the guppies run back into the market. Over here, they were in real estate, then real estate crashed, and they ran up over here. That's what's happening. So they're saying the Dow 12,000 is a new high, blah, 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 blah. But that's measured in dollars, a currency, not money. Then you look at this here. This is the next chart. This is gold is going this way. This is the purchasing power of the gold. So gold can purchase more dollars. And look at the dollar is going down because they're printing it. You can literally just run the printing presses. This happened in Germany with the Weimar Republic. The country finally went bust. And when the country was in total despair, and the reason they lost all their money was the savers got their savings wiped out. That's what happened in Germany. So when the middle class had their savings wiped out in Germany in the 1930s or so, because, one of the stories they talk about is this woman went to the bakery with a wheelbarrow full of marks, and then she couldn't get it in the door, so she ran inside to buy a loaf of bread, and when she came out, they stole her wheelbarrow. They left the money. Okay, and I'm not saying we're getting there, but it looks like $1 trillion is a lot of money. So the purchasing power is going down, but the purchasing power of gold goes up. And that's really what I'm saying. What does it buy you today? So when you look at that, so this here So the stockbrokers right now are all getting all excited saying, look at the Dow, it's all new highs, all new highs. But when measured in dollars, it looks high. But when measured in gold, it's crashing. Does that make sense, you guys here? So that's the biggest difference, and that's why savers are losers. If you don't understand, you got to compare apples to oranges, not apples to apples, not currency to currency, but dollars or currency against tangible assets, things that you buy, sell, or use. One of the biggest investments I'm saying to people today is still silver, not gold. And the reason silver, I think, is a good investment is very simply, I was buying it at $4 an ounce, and today it's $14 an ounce. But the reason I like silver versus gold, number one, silver is cheaper, but silver is actually an industrial metal. It's a precious metal, but it's an industrial metal. So it's more like oil than gold. You use silver in every computer, every cell phone, every television set, et cetera, every satellite's loaded with silver. So silver is being consumed and gold is being hoarded. So as an investor, I'd rather hold silver now. And not that I don't save money, because I have cash flow, I don't have savings. My money pools in, I try to move it as quickly as I can. But those are some of the difference. So I just hold enough silver so I can last about 3 years. You know, I have it in a vault way up hidden on the mountain. And if everything went like the Weimar government, which brought Hitler to power, at least I'll have some silver. And as this one U.S. senator says, or representative says, he says, years and years ago when the Spanish ships got sunk full of gold, that's hundreds of years ago. People still dive for it. You know, 100 years from now, if a ship sinks with dollars in it, nobody's going to die for it. Just getting clear on why savers are losers. And it all started in 1971. So it's really bad advice, as you can tell, to say to somebody, save money. Because you're not really saving money, you're saving a currency. So I'll give you a quick overview of what I do instead. Savers park their money. You ever hear that? I'm going to park my money. And so what the financial planners want you to do is park your money with them. And they'll take your money at 5% and they'll lend it out at 10%. That's how they do it. It's called capitalism. I like it. I think it's a great idea personally and all this stuff. But I don't park my money. I'm constantly moving my money. It's called the velocity of money. And that's covered here in this book here, Real Estate Advantages. It's written by Sharon Lechter and Garrett Sutton, an accountant and attorney. Sharon's my partner in the Rich Dad Company, and Garrett is the Rich Dad Advisors. But these are the tax laws and the accounting laws. So it's not me, you know, a C student. These are the A students telling you why and how the rich are getting richer using real estate. And real estate has the best advantages in my experience